Welcome to the Lighthouse Financial Advisors Money Over 50 podcast with Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Lighthouse Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50. Today we are discussing why a lack of financial doing is like me not going for my medical tests. Michael.
Yeah, so I struggle to come up with this title because it's not medical. It's not any medical test that I don't do. It's I don't book doctor's appointments. If I do book the doctor's appointment and they refer me to a specialist, I don't book that appointment. If they refer me for medical tests, like blood tests, that stays in my bag for 12 months. So there's just so many things that I don't do medically, and it got me to thinking, because we have a saying here that financial planning is useless without financial doing. Yeah. And the similarities that I see there is I'll go and see my GP. Yeah. And Ray will say. My GP will say, you need to. I think everything's fine. However, I'm a little bit worried about this marker. You need to go and get this test. Yeah. So that's the equivalent of the financial planning part.
Yeah. Someone comes in and meets with us.
So he's a specialist, and he says,
hey, you probably need to do these things, or these are the things you need to look at. And if they then nod their head and leave and don't do anything, then there's no point having the conversation.
That's right. So it got me into thinking that certainly we see a lot of that in our industry. Yeah. Where there's certain financial advisors that will say, okay, here's the advice, or here's the plan. Now you go away and do that. Yeah. And we find that people are just so busy these days that they actually have the best intentions. Yeah. But they walk out of that office and life goes on, and that's what happens to me. So I walk out of my GP's rooms, and life goes on. Yeah, life's busy again, and you just never get around to it.
And it's one of those things where it's not a motivation issue. And this is the same thing with your financial planning as with your medical stuff. Is that for most people, there's nothing more important than, am I going to die early or am I going to run out of money? Yes. So that's, it's not about is this important enough to me. It's just that. It's not salient, it's not front of mind. You as you say, you leave your doctor's office and you walk outside and you've got 3 missed calls, and then you make those phone calls, and then by the time you get home and then you're talking to your kids, you're talking to your wife, and the next thing you know, it's 3 weeks later and you go, oh, geez, I forgot to go and get that test, or I forgot to go and pick up that result, or do something like that. So I guess what we're talking about here is there's really two components to what we see our role as. And I use the royal we here as Lighthouse, but really it's broken down very clearly in our office that we are responsible, Michael and I, with our clients for the financial planning, and then we walk out of our meeting and hand their file across to Kylie, or we get her involved in that meeting and say, Kylie, these are all the things that we need to happen for these people. How do we do that? How do we make that actually practically happen for them?
Yeah, look, it works fantastically because Kylie is our new director of financial doing. It took us a while for us to come up. I mean, traditionally we would call her client services manager. Yeah. But we think that fits better because she actually assists everyone and does it herself wherever possible to actually make the financial planning come to life and to actually get it done. So she gets stuff done. Yeah. Which is really, really useful. I mean, so an example of that is, she met with some clients of mine last week who have just retired. So Kylie actually sat with them in our office. She had all the background paperwork that she knew would be required to complete their age pension application. So they'd qualified. We'd worked out. So the planning part of it was that we qualified their work out for a part age pension. Yeah. So the financial doing part of it was actually sitting down, getting them to register for MyGov accounts. So she did that with them. Yeah. Because even to go out and say to someone, go and register for a MyGov account, then where do you start? So she actually sat down with them, registered for MyGov, got them onto MyGov. She had filled out the application with them. She knows, because she's done it before, what type of paperwork and verification Centrelink need. 4 hours later, she came out of it. And but
completely
that was,
drained.
So that would have never got done if those clients actually had to do that themselves or walk into Centrelink themselves. It would be a little bit like me. It might take 6 or 12 months. So they might have missed out on $10,000 because they and that was sort of the equivalent of their part pension over over a 12-month period of time.
And that's, I guess, the thing that we see all the time is there's, again, two components to it. There's the actual knowledge of how to make those things happen, and that's where Kylie is obviously the expert in that. Even compared to us, where, as we say, it's not that it's our role to do the planning and then Kylie's doing the legwork. It's a different area where we know we want these things to happen, but I don't know how to apply for age pension.
No.
I've never even looked at it, never seen it, haven't even thought about how it actually practically happens. So when I write, these clients need to apply for age pension, that's great, but what does that mean? And if I was to hand that back to the client, it's a big thing that we feel strongly about, is that's our clients are paying us and they're using our services to take away that stress and to give them that peace of mind. So if I just say, hey, here you go, you need to go and talk to Centrelink, or you need to go and talk to your super fund, or you need to talk to your payroll about this, all I've done is push that stress and that another job back onto them.
That's right.
Whereas if we can say, I know that you need to do these things, I don't necessarily know how it has to happen, but Kylie's going to work with you to, number one, find out what needs to practically happen, and then two, to actually make sure that goes in place and that it does happen and doesn't just sit in the back burner for 6 months.
That's right, and I think we used to discount that a little bit because we thought because we live and breathe this every day. We thought it was easier for people to apply for Centrelink. We thought it was easier for people to.
That's right.
To
just ring your super fund and
ring
say
your super fund and do this and that. When we were doing a very good part of that. There was parts that we weren't doing though. But when we actually took a step back, I laughed because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I'm digressing here. This guy said, "Do you mind if we take a step back?" And he said, "By the way, that's only used in podcasting. Like, you're never sitting around talking to people and saying, let's just take a step back for a minute." So we actually did take a step back and look at what else we could offer our clients. And that's when we came up with things like Centrelink was a big one because that was a real sticking point for people. And I guess, to be fair, it wasn't. It was only recently that we were able to actually assist with Centrelink via MyGov, because previous to that, you actually had to, God forbid, walk into to the Centrelink branch and actually book a meeting yourself at that point in time.
I think that's like what we consider a bit of a point of difference for us as financial advisors, is that, again, it's very easy for. And it happens all the time now, where ourselves or Kylie will speak to a super fund and they'll say, "Oh, you need to get the member to do this," and we say, "No, that's not what they're paying us for. They're paying us to take care of this. There's got to be another way for us to make this happen without having to." They're at work. They're doing the thing that they are paid to do. They're the expert in that area. We're not going to now hand them another job and say, "Here, you've got to go and do this now."
That's right.
Anything possible that we can be doing, we need to be doing. Again, and it's for two reasons. It's because we do that day in, day out. We probably know exactly how to have it, how to make it happen. And secondly, we know how important it is. We've done the financial planning. If we're recommending something, it's for a reason. It's because it's what's in the best interest of this person. So if we just hand that over to them and then it sort of sits there and they don't get a chance to do it for 3 or 6 months, we've done them a disservice as well by not putting that in place as soon as possible and getting it happening.
That's right. I guess in wrapping up, you got anything to add? I'd just like to say to the listeners out there, I know there'll be a lot of listeners worried about me because
you've got all these medical tests.
I've I have got them done just recently. So what was the last example that I think is that yesterday. So I've been referred to from my dermatologist to a dermatologist with a laser to burn off just a couple of mild sunspots. So it wasn't a melanoma or anything like that. So I know the listeners that
you've got
are worried about me. I've actually booked that. Now that was 7 months, 6 or 7 months.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's not a motivation issue. You know that you need to do that, and it wasn't even that hard. You just had to pick up the phone and ring, and actually make the time to do it.
I had a reminder system, so I've got a monthly Trello card, which gives me all of those things to do. So I'd copied that across. So I think it was from July last year. So I copied it to the August one, and I copied it to the September, October, November, December. It made its way to the February one, and I was just about to copy it across. And the task basically said, call Dr. Tassin.
So that's literally all you had to do.
So I was just about to move it to the March one, and I went, we're approaching the end of February, and I thought, no, I can't. So I actually called and booked the appointment to have just a couple of sunspots lasered off. So
I guess that is probably, now that I think about it, something to wrap up with is if you're listening to this and you don't have a financial advisor, or if you do have one that doesn't do these sorts of things, that's, I guess, a key point to me is that we are very, I like to think that I'm a task-focused, sort of practical, well, I'm probably not that practical around the house, but as in, we are very task-focused as an organisation. So if you've never had an experience of meeting with a financial advisor, I think one of people's fears potentially is that they're going to go in, this advisor's going to spout all this theoretical stuff over their head and say, here's a prescription, go and do these 20 things that you might not necessarily understand exactly what they are and how to make them happen. That's not how our system works. Is that if you meet with us, it's really, and it's funny because we talk about common questions we get in our first meeting, where we'll often have a first meeting and talk for a while about all the different things, possibilities that could happen, and I constantly find I'm getting interrupted by people going, but do you do that bit? And I have to explain everything. Yes, we do that bit, and we do that bit. Everything that we are recommending you to do within reason, we're also handling the implementation of it.
Yeah, look, and another great example there is that Kylie, because there's a lot of changes initially that you'll have to make, that people have to make with their payroll sometimes. So Kylie will actually, where she can,
get authority to speak
to the payroll, and she just handles it. And if she can't, what we actually do is we put together an email, send it to our client, and just ask them to forward that to their payroll, as if it's coming from them. So we're always looking for ways to
that's exactly right.
Free up people's time.
I think that's a big thing for us is that we realise the importance of, as you say, financial planning is nothing without financial doing. And so there's the two parts to that, is that we need to do the financial planning. We need to come up with the recommendations and the changes that people need to make. But then we also need to realise that, as you say, everyone's busy. Everyone has different things that they're an expert in, and it's normally not their superannuation or their those sorts of things. So for us, it's about coming up with a very simple, very easy to follow prescription of the financial planning, and then actively making that happen and putting that in place.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Lighthouse Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.